Well, hello and welcome to the About Small Business podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be interviewing Tristan Raine from, is it Raindrop Events?
Events 85 now.
Events 85, right.
Yep.
So name change there. Organisers of the Scoop Music Festival, as I'm sure lots of you will be aware. If you do enjoy what we're doing with the podcast, please do give us a like and a subscribe. But Tristan, events organiser extraordinaire, was that your first foray into the world of entrepreneurship?
Well, many moons ago, I actually had a sandwich business, which took off really well around the local facilities, shops and stores and petrol stations around the area, the DH8 area. The festival side came when the kids, my eldest two children, who are 23 and 21 now, started school in Medemsey, and they wanted to raise some money. And we started a hoedown in the back, which is where I first met you.
Indeed.
It did, yes. And that was a massive success, and that's where I got the bug. It was never going to make me a millionaire, but it was the buzz of seeing the happy people, the smiles, and the smell of the food, and it was just a happy time. And just that one night behind the school, well, you and Tony performed with other bands, just got me the bug, and that's where it all started.
Wow.
4 hours behind the school and one on a Friday night. That's where it all began.
And developed into Scoop Music Festival. Before we go there, can you perhaps take me back, because I didn't know that about you with your sandwich business. Can you maybe sort of take us back to school, your thoughts about working for yourself, what you wanted to do? How did you end up working for yourself with a sandwich business?
Yeah, absolutely. So school wasn't my forte. I wasn't a studious bloke. I didn't want to be in school. I went to a private school, which I didn't think was for me. Left at 16, went to college, which was really up my street. You know, you could call the teachers by their first names. You wore your own clothes. They told you, well, you know, you're here, but we're not going to command you to be here. If you want to come, come. If you don't come, you're going to fail. That was it. Rob Montgomery was the head tutor, and he really just put it down there. And that's what really got me going. I like that sort of attitude. Went through that 3 years, graphics and fine art. Passed that. Didn't do anything with it because of a year of missing out. The next year I went in to visit them. All the A1 boards had gone. It was just full of Apple Macs. It all went into graphic design.
Right.
So I missed that period, which could have given me a career where I could have gone on a different angle for the whole life, but it never did. So that changed. Went off to Spain to work for a bit. Came back. Met my first wife. We were both in jobs, but wanted to make some more money, so we started a sandwich business called Tasty Savoury. Supplying news agents, petrol stations, stores in Burnup Field, and that was all going well until the one thing changed was the word sale or return.
Right.
And that's when you think, okay, that's when you knew you were going to make money when it was just sale, but on the return bit, that was the big change. So we sold the name. It was the name which someone wanted. I sold the name. The business went. I continued working at Northern Electric at the time. I was a customer service investigator. And then we got into the kids. We had kids. They went into the school. The school wanted to raise money. We just said, yep, we'll raise a hoedown in the back of the school. We had a pizza guy there. We had a bar there. Put some marquees together. Yourselves and other people came along, and that's where it started, yeah.
Fantastic. So, because I believe as well on part of that journey, you were a self-employed plasterer as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a self-employed plasterer up until 2021, October 21. I worked as a full-time plasterer for years. Then it got too much. It was too busy.
Yeah.
So I got other subbies in, took a back step to it, and then I went into aerospace. I became an NDT engineer, doing aerospace for 8 years at a local company here, which was fantastic. I got made redundant there, but all the way through for 20 years of going all the way through marriages and full-time jobs, I always had the plastering business until I got tennis elbow in October 21, and that scuppered the whole lot.
Right.
One day, leant down, arm went, and that was the end of the career.
So with you getting your tennis elbow, were you not then able to find the people to cover the work, or so you could take more of a back step?
I think the problem with that was I lost a very good friend of mine. He was helped me run the business. He was unfortunately murdered. Went through a massive trauma of losing him, and we we tried to go on and on. Me and my mate Derek started the business again. He had to go a different direction, and then we started again together. And then the injury happened, and then I thought, you know what, let's just call it a day.
Enough's enough.
Yeah, that was it. And the market of plasterers and tilers, and it was saturated in the area. So you were fighting, and you weren't making a lot of money. You couldn't live on it, So that ended that. And it was 20 years of good fun. We enjoyed it. We worked together. Socialising part of it was amazing. Working with companies down in London who had investors from abroad buying houses up here. We were getting the keys and given timeline of 10 weeks to turn all around and getting back. It was fun. It was a good experience. But yeah, it was time to knock it on the head, so to speak.
Right, call it a day with that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just interestingly, because, I mean, you mentioned when you were at college, you were studying graphics.
Yeah.
And from graphics, which is ultimately a very creative field, you've then gone to making sandwiches, to plastering. I don't mean to make any sort of judgment as to how creative you can be with your sandwiches, or indeed plastering a room, but they're not necessarily related fields. So what I suppose dictated how you decided which of those? I mean, how do you sort of go from graphic design to sandwich making to plastering?
Interesting question.
And then ultimately to events.
Yeah, I guess the graphic side is all the way through, because you've got to have an imaginative memory, mind to get into these sort of things and give it some depth. The sandwiches, it was a money-making thing. Me and my first wife needed to make some more money on top, and in the end, we were just nearly at that pivot point where we could have both quit both our jobs and done it, but we didn't get quite to that point where the work, the orders were coming in.
Right.
So that's when that sort of it went. It was a hard decision because it was fun, it was a good business, but at that point it wasn't going to work. So
was it nice working together?
Yeah, but it was long because we were working full time, and then at night we were working until midnight making sandwiches and get dropped off the next day, and that was 7 days a week. So it took its toll. It was tiring. It was tiring, but a good experience. And that was my first experience of being my own boss.
Yeah,
and that was the important thing. A lot of people who know me, I'm a bit of a lone wolf. I like working for myself, and don't necessarily like having a boss. Don't like being told.
It's interesting what you say regarding that, and I think you get that with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people who do work for themselves, and you take it right back to when they were at school.
Yeah, and
it's a tough one, because I think fundamentally I don't think anyone likes being told what to do. No. I suppose some people do, and we absolutely need people in society who do like being told what, or at least who are prepared to be told what to do to actually keep the cogs turning.
Absolutely.
But certainly with a lot of people who do decide to go out and start their business, there's a big driver there of not enjoying being told what to do by the people. And that's interesting, like sort of on the 6th of the podcasts, that seems to be something that comes back. It's like not liking being told what to do.
Absolutely.
And so that's something that you sort of didn't like at school with the sandwich bit of time. I like this.
Yeah. And that was the difference of going to college, because yes, they were tutors.
Yeah.
But they categorically said to you, we don't need you here. We want you to want to be here. Yeah. And that was your own decision. And I travelled from this area, Concert, all the way to Wallsend, 5 days a week. So that there was a want to do it. And I did want to do it because I love graphics. I love painting and drawing. I've got some of my paintings up in the house, so I enjoy that. And that was the drive. And I met friends there who I still know now. So 30 odd years down the line, I still know them.
Yeah.
I still know people from school, but don't see them as much as the ones I see in college. So it tells its own story, you know.
So college suited you much better because of that
absolutely
more relaxed feel.
Absolutely. So then moving on from plastering. Plastering's an art. Absolutely. They call it the dark art. You can either do it, you can't do it. There's no in between. You can try, and I had a plastering school for a little bit, and I would get people from the door come in. I used to train them. They used to go out by themselves. But the amount of people who came in for one day and couldn't even put plaster on a hawk, would just walk out.
Yeah,
just couldn't do it. But it is an art. And if you can just imagine a room as a blank canvas, which is an absolute wreck, and you then turn it into a beautiful room painted with all your architraves and your skirting board up there and a beautiful cinema side for the TV, it is like a bit of art.
Yeah,
And when it's just yeah, I saw it as that. I know it's people. I've said to people in the past, they're going, "Oh my God, it's an art. It's just a trade." I said, "It's not a trade. It's not like putting some plumbing in or some electrics."
I mean, I suppose it can all be, if you're taking a pride in your job fundamentally, then I suppose you can make it in that. I mean, how do we define that really? But I mean, as you say, creating that room, and I mean, sort of some of the most popular programs on telly at the minute, sort of the makeover, home makeover programs.
Absolutely.
I think anyone that's had a room skimmed will know the difference. And like, if you're sort of maybe a bit older, remembering try to paper over the cracks.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. It's I mean, it was a really good time of my life. That in half my life nearly. I'm 49 now, so 20 years. It was a long period of time. I did it and enjoyed it and met some amazing people on the way. You know, including millionaires or including people who have nothing. Give them a chance, you know, and give them some labouring work. It's about giving back sometimes and helping people out, you know. So yeah, the plastering finished, and then I mean, I was NDT engineer, non-destructive testing. That was sort of following in my dad's footsteps because he was an NDT consultant, and he spent a lot of his time working away in amazing countries, and I thought, you know, that could be me. So I did my exams, I passed my tickets, ended up in concert full time. So I didn't exactly I didn't see the countries he saw, but I enjoyed the job. I enjoy the mixing with the big boys like Boeing and Airbus, you know, and having orders with them. And it's actually taught me a lot in quality as well. And then after that company got took over, and a lot of the work went to China, and you know that's the way that went. Redundancies came, and I took it because I wanted to be actually out of there for certain reasons. You know, it wasn't my cup of tea in the end. You know, it wasn't going the direction I want my life to go to. So that went. And then soon after that, COVID hit. And during COVID, I decided to do a degree in renewable energy and then a Bachelor of Science in Engineering Management.
Right.
Yeah, so I did that. Started in the classroom. COVID hit. So I went all into teams. And then in the last 6 months, we went back into the classroom. I did my next year at the University Centre and got my Bachelor of Science. And basically got my job as a health and safety consultant and then moved on to project management.
So learning seems to be featuring quite a lot in your journey, as it were, and retraining. Or
in my mid-40s, that's when I decided learning was good for me.
Right.
Not when I was at school, coming up to my GCSEs, and I mean, art college was great. You know, that was all coursework and playing with pens and pencils. You know, it was fantastic. But yeah, I realised that if I wanted to better myself, that I had to go back in education. And when someone told me to go back to university, there was no chance because it goes on UCAS points, etc. And all I did was put my CV in. And I think it was the strength of the engineering, the aerospace company doing NDT. That's what got me into university.
So, I mean, from what you're saying, then you're looking at quite a dramatic change in attitude.
Oh, mentally, yeah, absolutely.
What what prompted that?
God, that's a very good question. That'll take some picking out. That I think I've always wanted to better myself. I've never thought I was just that at that point in my life where I'm happy, and I don't think I am now. At 49, I've got a good job, project management. Really enjoy it. I love the challenges. The job of a project manager is you've always got problems and you've got to find solutions, and that's always been me through my life. I've always found a solution to a problem. And people have come to me all through my life saying, can you do this? Can you do that? Do you know how to do that? And there's always an answer. I always find a solution. And that actually boils down to going to the festival side of things, because there's always problems with festivals. Always. If someone tells you that a festival runs smooth, they're lying. Absolutely lying. It takes a year to run one, and it's never smooth sailing. But yeah, I think I'm always trying to get somewhere, but I don't know where that is yet.
So part of the journey. Going. We don't, you know, it's, I suppose, you know, maybe there is no destination. Maybe it is just all about the journey and enjoying it.
Yeah. And I think predominantly I would love to have a business or consultancy with people.
Yeah.
Because over the years, I've always been known as like the lone wolf. I've always done things by myself. And I think that's probably down to lack of trust of people doing things up to the spec that I want. And if I don't get that, it's difficult to put it across to someone nicely. You know, you've got to be careful. And so festivals, it took me years and years and years to even trust anyone to be part of me in festivals. And the first person I really brought in was my brother. Trust him, and he loves them, you know. He gets more and more involved now, because over the years I've done food festivals, I've done mini festivals, I've done farmers markets, but the festivals, the music festivals, is the you know, the one which I love doing, you know, and love to say that people make lots of money off festivals, and probably the big boys do, but it's just the fun of organising it, making it work, because you work a year organising these things, and it's only 3 days, and it's gone in the blink of an eye. It's gone, and you never stop. Last year was Scoop's biggest one, to over 2,000 people there. I think I saw half an hour of a band over 3 days because I got stuck behind the bar, and it was that busy I couldn't get away from it.
No,
you know, and brilliant, because that's what you want. But there was bands I booked because I wanted to see them, and DJs I booked I wanted to see them, but never got to see them.
So we've got Scoop last year. That wasn't when did Scoop actually start?
So Scoop started in 2019 at Wheelberg's Parlour.
Right, and that was a direct follow-on from the Medhamsley Hoedown.
No, in the middle of that we had Hampstead Forest Music Festival as well.
Right,
we were in the nest. We rented 4 fields from the Forestry Commission, and we had a blast down there. The best story I've ever told about festivals, it makes me really smile. The first one we organised was about 2015 or 2014, I can't remember the exact date. We released tickets on PayPal back then, because there wasn't many ticket sites to sell tickets. So I released the ticket prices on Facebook. It was a PayPal link, and we were going to Malaga, me and my second wife, and we got on the plane, we set it up, PayPal, bang, 2.5 hours to Malaga, sold out. It was just like that, 2.5 hours gone, 500 tickets, I was just like, wow, I couldn't believe it. And it's the best story ever, you know. You think, well, there was a few name bands, and then there was some unknown bands. I think it was just the magic of being in the nest, it was called, of the Hampstead Forest, and it was the magic of camping down there and having a few days. That was only a day and a half, that festival. It was a Friday night and the Saturday. It eventually progressed into 2.5 days, but the first one was very short. You know, it was 6 till 10 on the Friday and 11 till 5 on the Saturday.
So we've gone from Medhamsley Hoedown to Hampstead Forest.
Yep.
And then after that?
Scoop.
Then after that, Scoop. And that was at Wheelberg's.
Wheelberg's Parlour, and that's where the name came from, because they've got Jersey cows. They do their own Jersey ice cream. Yep. And we got Scoop from a scoop of ice cream. That's where Scoop's name came from. So that's the magic of it. That's
if anyone wants to know why, that's why.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and the Richardsons were fantastic, the farmers there. Unfortunately, we couldn't progress into the second year there for their farming reasons, really, for the hedgerows and wildlife and that, you know. So it was a shame, but we got it. We understood, you know. So we moved on, and went down to Burnside Hall in Lanchester, and that's where we had our second year, third year, and then the third year was in Rowley in a field there. Then we're back there at the we call it our home now, because we've got a long-term contract to be down there now. So Burnside Hall is the place.
Right, because obviously you weren't at Burnside Hall last year, were you?
No, we were just on a big 12-acre field in Rowley. We decided to change over there for reasons we can't really go into, but we changed site for a year, and now we were welcomed back when circumstances changed at the hall, where we could go back and get it back down there and really lay some foundations for Scoop for the next few years.
Fantastic. So in terms of starting Scoop, then when we're right at the beginning, was that a fairly easy transition, having done the Hoedown and then Hampstead Forest? Was that sort of
No, it was a big jump. A big jump. I mean, monetary wise, in Hampstead Forest and the Hoedown, fees for bands were relatively small. When we jumped into Scoop in 2019, I got people involved who I'd met 20 years ago in bars in Newcastle. So we got so for me, I'm more DJ than bands. So immediately I got someone involved. Went, right, who can we get? So we got John De Silva, Dave Pearce from Radio 1, Brandon Block, you know, and that was a massive jump up in fees, separate marquees. We had 3 stages, you know, it was a massive hike up. You needed power, like big power, you know, and it was a jump in everything. The infrastructure just totally changed. It was like portaloos and grey waste and needing 10 acres for parking. You know, it was massive change, but successful. You know, the one thing.
How did you cope with that change though? Because I mean, like you say, when the thing is for the parking and the logistics of things like that.
Yeah.
What kind of happens? What's the process? Is it just something you learn as you go along? Do you get advice from somewhere? Can you search it on the internet? I don't know.
Not really on the internet. No. I guess I wouldn't say wing it. But you just got to go with the flow. I don't tend to feel pressure on organising. If I know someone's 2,000 people are going to come, I go, okay then. And then down the line, you think, right, what do I need? So at Hampstead Forest, I had 20 portaloos. I need 50 now. And then you think, well, I have to jump in money. But, you know, ticket sales are going, so we'll be able to afford that. Then we need a mile of Harris fencing, which I never used before. I never needed it, you know. So it is all these little things. You need 10 million quid liability insurance rather than 5 million. You know, it's and then you got to have more security. You need traffic attendants. You need volunteers. You need more first aiders. You know, and more power, and then more cables and more lighting. You know, it's just like bang, bang, bang. It's like, but learning from small, going big, it's just doubling things up or quadrupling things up. But it's also the money quadruples the costs. You know, and that's what you be careful of. So it was a good transition. Scoop was a massive learning curve. I mean, Scoop last year was as well. We had a major problem the day of the morning of the event starting.
Yeah, we
had the National Grid pull in with a truck, which is where he said, "What are you doing here?" It was totally. I mean, they knew what we were doing. And he says, "Look up there." I said, "What's that?" And he says, "See that electric cable down there?" I says, "Yeah." He says, "No one can be under that." And 3 meters either side, and it went straight through the campsite. He went, "I can't let you have the festival go ahead, we'll shut you down." And I was like, okay, we'll not panic now. I said, "What do we need to do?" He says, "What I just told you. We need a pathway through there. We had to send security down to just half the campsite." And it's only because of the risk, the minute risk of the cable snapping and whipping round and electrocuting people.
Wow.
And that was a massive link up. Didn't know anything about that. The site manager never heard of it. He did some research, and it is only advice only. But the risk of closing the festival before it even started and the outlay we put out, we had to abide to the rules, what they wanted. And they came back every day to check as well.
So could they have shut you down?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they could have just
got that power.
Yeah, they could have gone to the hierarchy of the National Grid and went, they're not listening. There's a power line going through the campsite. We're going to shut them down. And they could have done that. Yeah.
Stress you don't need, really, isn't it?
Not in the morning before you open the campsite. You know, it's before you open the festival field.
It's an interesting one because I mean, as you know, I was at that festival.
Yeah, and
you did seem to get one thing after another with that because you had an issue with tickets, didn't you?
Yeah, there was an issue with tickets. There's people coming with. Well, what we did was that was when we were going through the crisis of people not being able to even feed themselves. Yeah. You know, so I made the decision, and was it good? Was it bad? For me, to help people was good.
Yeah.
So drop the tickets to £5.
I'm going to say you slashed the ticket prices.
Slashed ticket prices, and it's
quite a brave thing to do.
It was
having in mind what you've just told me about the outlay that you put on that festival.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and a lot of people were like, "What you done? What are you doing?" And I thought, you know what? I've done it because there's a reason for it. People can't afford to come. I've got a massive database, 19,000 people database of emails of people who've been at my events over the last 10 years. I was emailing them, big, massive emails, block emails saying, "Would love you to come. Why aren't you coming?" Basically,
yeah,
can't afford it. Can't even afford the kids to eat. And I thought, you know what? I'm dropping the prices. And the feedback we got was negative from in the hospitality, but positive from people who could come. And we got some amazing messages. One woman put on Facebook that they wanted to come and couldn't. Her husband had a brain hemorrhage, and she'd been living in the hospital away from our two kids for months. and they saw the post of Scoop dropping the tickets to £5, and they came, and they couldn't have thanked us enough. They were like, we're so
Brilliant.
privileged coming. And I've supported her recently. I've given them free tickets to come this year as well, because the husband still isn't out the woods. He's better, but he's still struggling.
Yeah.
But he's coming this year as well.
Brilliant.
So that one feedback does it for me. You know, it's just positivity. And if you can't help people, you know, what can you do?
Didn't you have an issue with the website as well? With that price reduction?
Yeah, there was. It's just negativity of people. You know, people wanting refunds because people were paying like £35-40.
Yeah.
And then saw that reduced it to £4, to £5. But like I said to one person who got really irate with me, he was angry. He wanted to come down and find me for the price of £35. You know, he wanted some money back. And I said, can I give you a sort of like a scenario here? He went, yeah. He says, I was been to Tesco's last week, and that a Henry Hoover, £150. He was like quite aggressive. I don't want to hear this. I says, yeah, but I came back this week, and on the Tesco Club card, it's been reduced by £75.
Yeah.
If I'd bought that last week, could I have justified myself going into customer services and having a pop at them? And he understood.
Yeah.
He got it.
Because from memory, though, you did actually give...
Oh, thousands of pounds back.
I'm going to say, I seem to recall there was sort of a big...
yeah.
I mean, that must have hit you pretty hard as well.
Yeah, it did, yeah, massively. The two major factors of Scoop last year was the refunds, which I would say 95% got done. If there's been stragglers on, there always is the ones who say they've booked and haven't, and you search for the names on the database and they don't come up, you think, hang on a minute. So you do get the people trying it on. And the Sunday, where we had a massive influx of wind, and actually snapped one of the marquees.
Yeah.
So for health and safety reasons, had to close the site.
It damaged the marquee?
Yeah, one of the marquees, one of the dance marquees actually snapped. It's folded.
Wow.
So we had to call it. For me, health and safety is above everything else. You know, I've done consultancy in health and safety, and I just couldn't even think about opening the site on the Sunday. And everyone understood, because they were all trying to keep their tents in place. You know, they were and tents were flying around. You know, so we shut it, and a couple of people went, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." I was
going to say, was there any backlash from that?
Oh yeah, the ones who just bought Sunday tickets. You know, and I thought, well, and majority got refunded. If they applied for refunds, they got refunds. Yeah. You know, it's
so you've done what you can, but
yeah, you can only do what you can do.
What about the traders who, like, sort of your food sellers and people like that?
Oh, they were fine. No problems there at all.
I suppose they're at risk as well, aren't they?
They're at risk, and they know. I've worked with the same ones for over a decade.
Yeah.
Some longer than a decade, and they know. You know, they're all like experienced. They do 12 months a year, so they hit every season, so they understand. They're probably glad. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I was pretty glad, because it was raining, it was windy, and I was like, we had to drop the main marquee because that was wafting about, and I was like, oh God, this is dangerous. So we dropped the king poles and that. You know, we had to just make the site safe. Yeah. Had to make the site safe, and people coming in, it wasn't safe for them. You know, it just wasn't safe. So yeah, we called it. It was a very hard decision for me, because you never want to cancel it.
No,
you know, never. And there's bands turning up, because we were so busy telling people on social media that was cancelled, and going around the tents and telling them and apologising. Bands were turning up saying, "Oh God, I can't believe it didn't tell us." I was like, well, you know, okay, I get it, but our priority was telling the customers. You know,
it's interesting because, I mean, sort of the story about last year's Scoop Festival, you seem to have had issue, challenge after challenge. Yeah, I don't know. It still felt to me like it was a fairly successful festival.
Oh, massively.
And in terms of the reach, the number of people that you've managed to kind of put Scoop on the map. Yeah. Certainly locally.
The catchment area was from Essex all the way up to top end of Scotland.
Wow.
I mean, people from Ireland. It was amazing. You can get like a heat map of your ticket sales off the ticket site, and yes. I was amazed. Absolutely, it blew me away. The people who were coming from all the areas of the UK.
Interesting metaphor there, given what happened on the Sunday.
yeah. Bizarre. But you know what? We managed to capture so many people who are on the circuit of the festivals.
Yeah.
Which the smaller Scoop in Hampstead Forest wouldn't have got. So something captured that.
So you managed to make a positive from... I mean, even into this conversation, I think I've lost track of the amount of
That's
challenges and things.
You know, you've... a festival is a project.
Yeah.
You know, and there's more problems occur as you go along. You know, it's like the National Grid coming in. I wasn't expecting them to come in. No. You know, and he only passed the fields because the road he usually takes was closed. So he had to pass the field, and that's when he saw the festival. If that road hadn't been closed, he wouldn't have gone past.
That's really random then.
Yeah,
turned up.
Totally. The chances of that. He even said, he says, I wouldn't have seen it. Because I always go the top road, but it was closed. I had to go on this way, and I saw it, but I felt my duty to come in. The word Jobsworth didn't come to mind, you know. But he came every day. Yeah. And we gave him a sandwich, and he had a drink, and he was happy in the end, you know, because he abided to what he wanted, which you do, you know, you've got to have every box ticked, especially through your safeguarding of your customers. That's the biggest thing, you know. If they're not safe, we're not safe, you know. And the biggest saying in construction, because I've worked in construction for years, is it's okay till it's not okay. You don't want someone hurt. No. You know, that's the serious side of things. You've got to have people safe.
You've spoken a lot. Well, I think we've covered an awful lot of challenges in this conversation so far. Out of all the challenges, sort of going back from your sandwich business to your plastering, the plethora of challenges that you've just talked about with last year's Scoop, which ironically you managed to turn around, and that's kind of, I think, really sort of setting you up a level moving forward. But out of all those situations, what stands out to you as the main challenge you've had to deal with in your businesses?
In all of them? Oh, wow. Well, there's a couple I can think of. Probably the biggest one. Is it the biggest one? I mean, for festivals, it's getting people there. Yeah. That's your biggest job. It's your hardest job. And it's the pre-event work.
Right.
But I guess when I was working through COVID plastering, before the arm went, there was no plaster in the UK. We had a girl from Belfast. It was great plaster. We never heard of it. And Houston got it in for us. And that was keeping the money rolling. Because I had about 5 lads working. Yeah. And it was keeping the money rolling in. So yeah, that was probably sourcing plaster through COVID. Yeah. You know, that was big thing. And we could work together because we were together anyway as a plastering team. And it was empty houses. So we got the keys left in a key box on the door. So we got the keys, wiped them, went in, just started working. So yeah, getting the plaster through COVID. And it's, to me, I love organising festivals. It's not fun to organise. It's fun to watch it run through the days it's live. That's the biggest thing I get out of it. I love it. I love seeing people laughing and smiling and kids dancing, and that's it for me. But it's getting them there and getting the word out. And marketing is the biggest struggle I would think every festival has, is the marketing. Yeah. So that's the big word. How
do you go? I mean, because going back to your college days in terms of your graphic design, I mean, are you finding that helps you? I mean, you're quite prolific on social media.
Yeah. Design all my own flyers, posters. I'm involved in another company now, Jam Marketing. They've done some work for me and continue to do so. Last year, I had Jack Media. They were doing some stuff for me. So I involve a lot of people and get them involved, you know. The biggest thing for me is sponsorship, getting sponsors. And it's not all about money either. It's about having the right name on your flyer so people know. You know, it's always trying to have a charity. So it's NSPCC this year to do with child abuse. So that's a big thing, which I attended a NSPCC talk at the Grove in Newcastle not so long ago. That was really interesting, and I said I would like to partnership with you. So that's in the realms of getting sorted out. The year before that was the hospice in Lanchester.
Yeah, Willoughburn.
Yeah, Willoughburn, because I went on holiday with my daughter. Quite a sad story, but it was nice. My friend John, who sold cheesecakes at the farmers market in Lanchester. Yeah. He got terminal cancer. Really unfortunate. Such a lovely guy. And I was messaging him when I was in Mallorca, and he was fine. He was in the hospice that time. And I got back about 4 o'clock on the Saturday. He messaged me, bring some cider, we'll watch the Spurs game. So I got there, and Trisha was right there. We watched the game, had a great night, and he looked, I wouldn't say fine because he was terminally ill, but I left him at 10 o'clock and he died at 4 o'clock. I just couldn't believe it. But I was so glad I got there.
Yeah.
But I was so glad of seeing the staff. That's so much time I was there. The staff were amazing. So that's why I supported them. And before that, I was a partner with the hospice anyway, through certain people in Lanchester. So I supported them then, and now it's the NSPCC's turn.
I mean, I certainly know from Willoughburn, there are a lot of us, I mean, from Lanchester, that are very, very grateful. So thanks to Willoughburn for everything that you do.
Fantastic.
And but no, and so NSPCC's turn this year, and you find that the charity that actually helps you with your marketing as well.
I don't use it for marketing. I just like to support them, and
Right.
it's getting. You don't need to put the name off NSPCC because they've been around forever, but it's just I don't know how to describe it. It's just putting their name out there, saying, "Hey, we're still here.
Yeah,
we're here for you," because they're a massive
and the goodwill of you supporting them as well and doing something to give something back.
Yeah, and they're going to come to the festival. They're going to have a little tent there, and they're there for support.
Yeah,
you never know who's out there who needs some help.
Absolutely.
And if you can't see it, ask. I listened to the Jamie Vine show a while ago, and it was a big thing about seeing mental health, about ask people if they're okay. And generally it's like, yeah, I'm okay. But then you have to ask again. So I can say to you, Barry, are you okay? And you go, yeah, I'm fine. Then you go, Barry, actually, are you okay? And that's when you get the right answer. Yeah. And that's a big thing, like mental health and abuse and that. For the NSPCC are really on it.
Brilliant. No, it's fantastic. We have covered a lot about challenges.
Yep.
But I think what is important is you have had a number. I mean, the fact that you're still going strong illustrates you've had some successes. Can you perhaps tell us about a few of the big successes that you've had throughout your journey?
I would say the Men's Plastering Services and Durham Plastering Services, they were a big success. They were successful, and they would still be going now if I chose to continue it. To me, it's acknowledgement of in hospitality of getting the festivals going, especially in the northeast. Yeah, I've got a good network of festival organisers, and even though we don't see each other all the time, we're always there if someone needs someone, get some advice, and that is, to me, the network. And anything, I've got no ego trip. I don't want to be known as it's Tris from Scoop. I'd love the legacy of Scoop to continue. It's a 10-year plan. We're in year 4 for it, so we're nearly halfway, and we're getting there because I want about 3,000 there this year. It'll be 5, and then 7, and then 10. Up to 10 years. You
mentioned your networking. I seem to recall sort of bumping into you a few years ago, and you were talking about, were you not talking about going out to Ibiza or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, that was the plan, but a lot of the rules, regulations have changed a bit now.
Right.
It's very odd. I mean, I think it's even half people who stay there over 90 days now. I was over there last year and the year before. I've got friends who are residents over there, and a good friend of mine stays over there for about 3 months, but everything's changed a bit. Everything.
Well, you've got people over there that are still happy to help you with advice and.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I'd love to progress Scoop into like mini festival abroad, but the rules and regulations and laws, it's totally changed.
In terms of your networking, so you find other people that are organising festivals, they're actually happy to help rather than any sort of sense of competition, like sort of they don't want you to.
Yeah, I mean, I can only talk about the people who are involved in the festivals in the northeast, but. Amazing, to be honest with you. They're just helpful and friends, and they love. I mean, I have some organisers who came to Scoop last year, and I go to their festivals, and you don't steal their ideas. You just say, "Yeah, that was great. Nice one." Went to Lindisfarne last year for the first time. Massive, amazing experience.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Then you've visited a few festivals. So which is the? Let's be careful and say. The second best festival.
Good words. Second best festival.
After Scoop, obviously.
Let me think. I mean, I've been to a lot. I would probably say Cubics, which is now Monument Festival.
Right. They seem because Cubics, I think, is a dance, and then Monument seems to be the more indie.
I think Monument's changed. It is now Cubics. they've changed the name.
Right.
So there is two. There's over 2 weekends. It's because the way it's ran, and it's a good friend of mine, Alex Hutchinson, who runs it. It's the volume of people.
Yeah,
that's what it is. You know, events 85 is when Band Aid was 1985. Right. And I love that how Bob Geldof created that out of literally nothing and using people he knew.
Yeah,
I remember watching it.
To be fair, he did have quite a decent diary, didn't he?
He had a good diary. Yeah, he did. Yeah, and I remember him going on live on TV saying.
I mean, you were able to just give Mido a quick call and ask him to write you a song.
Yeah, but there's a story.
Nice.
There's a story behind him in Mido as well. About Mido was meant to go on first, but Bob Geldof found out that Prince Charles and Diana were going to leave, so he put the Boomtown Rats on first, and Mido missed out playing in front of the Royals.
All right.
Yeah, so there was a bit of his wife has a bit of gripe about that. Yeah, that's a story and a half. But no, I mean the infrastructure and the logistics of Cubics, how it's progressed over Herrington Park and got bigger and bigger, and how it's just how it's set up. It's amazing staging, and it's just having thousands of people in one area, outside as well.
Yeah.
So you're in with the elements.
Yeah.
But it's just, I was there with my brother and a mate there, and it was just smiles everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just buzzing. It was just like, wow. And there was that many people there. I think it was 10,000, I think. But they didn't leave. They were just there, and they were there for the day. You know, they didn't. Yeah. You know, they might have gone off for food and a drink, but they just stopped there. And
I went last year, and I mean, the weather last year was horrendous. Yeah. But I mean, what you're saying about the atmosphere was fine. I think, I mean, the big sort of TP that they have for the dance festival, that helped.
Yeah.
But I do recall there are a lot of very, very muddy people there.
yeah, it's all part of the festivals. You know, the whole scene of it. You know, it was just. I mean. You can talk about, I've been to the Stone Valley, Northern Cairn, Cubics, Lindisfarne, Stand Up Agenda. You know, they're all friends of mine who run these things, and it's a good network of support. You know, I work a lot with Debbie Craig from Stand Up. We discuss a lot of stuff. It's just great networking. It's a great feel, you know, of being involved in that sort of.
It sounds
industry.
It's and nice, you know, all local as well, and just I suppose supporting that sort of that idea, that concept.
Yeah, it is.
So I mean, moving forward, I mean, you mentioned earlier on about like you've got a 10-year plan for Scoop.
Yep.
So what does the future look like for you for Scoop moving forward?
I would say it's going into big name bands. That's the next step. We have it's half of tribute, half ordinary bands who write their own music, and it's hard to get people there to see the ordinary bands. You know, not the ordinary is probably a bad word to use, but
bands at the start of their musical career.
Yeah. So it's getting the tribute bands to get them in and getting them to recognise the bands who've built themselves up on their own. But growing bigger, and getting bigger marquees, circus tents, and getting the big bands in, which is a bit jealous of some of the festivals who get, you know, some amazing bands, but it's money.
Bigger budgets.
Budgets.
Money talks.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I could have got, I'm not going to mention his name, but I could have got one lad 2 years ago for £1,000. He's now 40,000. You know, that's
not a bad pay rise, is it?
Not a bad pay rise. Not a bad pay rise. And he's done well for himself, you know, but that's what he commands. And he might not command that in 2 years' time. So good on him. You know, he's done well for himself. But that puts me out that bracket of being able to afford that sort of thing, you know. And he'd be able to fill. He would sell 2,000-3,000 tickets, which would probably pay for the event. So it's that balance.
Maybe one day, then you can go back to him and you can afford him, and
I'll be better people out there then. He's Mrs. Boat now.
Ah, right, that's it.
Yeah. And it won't be one day. It will be 1 year. It'll happen when we'll get the big bands in, and that's when we know the Scoop's made it.
Brilliant. I'm going to ask you one last question.
Yep.
I'm curious as to the answer to this one, actually. What advice would you give to anyone thinking about starting an events company?
Wow. I'm not going to say anything negative because it's a journey. It's a journey, and I would say have a good support network around you and a good team, a team you can trust. You need people around you who you can say, right, we need to do this and we need to do it right. Don't go straight in and say, let's do it, and and jump straight into, right, I want 2,000 people there, because something will go wrong. Be careful, little baby steps, and then you can get into the main arena of the festivals in the Northeast.
Brilliant. Yeah. Okay. So there you have it. Get your network around you. Tristan, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, Barry.
Thanks very much for speaking to us. Cheers.